Due to the COVID-19 outbreak, along with our commitment to protecting public health, TxDOT is conducting this virtual public hearing in conjunction with an optional in-person hearing offered on April 27, 2021, by appointment only to minimize in-person contact. This presentation will cover the same information that the Austin District would have shared at a live hearing. However, the comment process will be different, and that will be explained shortly. All project information and supplemental materials can be found on the virtual public hearing website. My name is Brad Wheelis, Public Information Officer for the Austin District. I would like to welcome and thank you for watching this virtual public hearing that will be available through May 26, 2021. We'll be covering the following areas: a project overview, an environmental overview, proposed right-of-way and displacements, the proposed timeline and project development, the public comment process. Again, this will be a little different than our live public hearings, and I'll explain later. And then, adjournment. Additionally, since this is a pre-recorded virtual presentation, you'll be able to pause, rewind, or fast forward this video at any time. Prior to December 16, 2014, the Federal Highway Administration, otherwise known as FHWA, reviewed and approved documents prepared under the National Environmental Policy Act, known as NEPA. However, on December 16, 2014, the Texas Department of Transportation assumed responsibility from the FHWA for reviewing and approving certain assigned NEPA environmental documents. This Memorandum of Understanding was renewed on December 9, 2019. This review and approval process applies to this proposed project. The virtual public hearing is being provided to share information and to encourage comments from the public regarding the proposed I-35 Capital Express South project. Notices for this hearing were published on the TxDOT website and appeared in the Austin American-Statesman on April 11th, El Mundo on April 15th, and Community Impact on April 22, 2021. The notice was also mailed to adjacent property owners, stakeholders, and elected public officials. TxDOT also provided social media posts regarding this hearing and distributed media releases to local media outlets. The purpose of this public hearing is to inform the public of project status and project recommendations, describe the project so the public can determine how they may be affected, provide the public the opportunity to provide input, and develop a record of public participation. TxDOT is committed to continuing our efforts to gain public feedback about this project. We understand this virtual public hearing format is a bit different, so let's take a few minutes and explain the comment process. Because of COVID-19, the Austin District is asking the public to provide their input through verbal and/or written comments. TxDOT is offering several methods for providing comments. You can submit written comments by email, mailing your comments to the address on your screen, or by submitting the comments online at the I-35 Capital Express website shown here. All written comments must be received or postmarked by May 26, 2021 to be included in the official public hearing record. In addition to written comments, verbal comments will be accepted. Verbal testimony will be similar to a live public hearing. A voicemail system will allow you to record a comment up to 3 minutes long, similar to the time provided during our standard live public hearing practice. The verbal testimony option is available from 9 a.m. April 27, 2021 until 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, May 26, 2021. Please call 512-501-5451 and leave a voicemail with your comment during that time. The responses to all comments submitted during the comment period will be included in the virtual public hearing summary report, which will be posted to my35capex.com once completed. This virtual public hearing and additional project information, such as project plans and environmental documentation, are posted for viewing and download at my35capex.com. The information presented on this website is the same information being presented in this video. Now let's start talking about the project details. The I-35 Capital Express South project spans 8 miles of I-35 from SH-71 White Boulevard to SH-45 Southeast. The purpose of the proposed project is to increase safety and mobility on I-35 for the traveling public. The I-35 Capital Express South project is needed because the capacity of I-35 between SH-71 and SH-45 Southeast is inadequate to meet current and future traffic volumes, resulting in congestion, reduced mobility, and reduced safety. Now let's talk about the proposed project's evolution. In 2019, an open house was held to present the proposed project to the public, which included adding surface-level managed lanes to I-35. Following this meeting in 2020, an additional engineering study required by the Federal Highway Administration was conducted, which recommended the addition of intersection bypass lanes and elevated I-35 managed lanes to improve operation and safety within the project limits. These recommendations were incorporated into the proposed build alternative and was presented at a virtual stakeholder meeting in December 2020. In 2021, in response to public feedback, TxDOT asked the University of Texas at Austin Center for Transportation Research to perform an independent analysis to evaluate and compare the surface-level managed lanes, elevated managed lanes, and the no-build alternative. The UT Center for Transportation Research study found that the proposed build alternative with elevated managed lanes would likely have a reduction in conflict points. Conflict points are areas where drivers have to interact with each other, such as entrances, exits, and weaving areas. As seen in the data, this reduction in conflict points generally leads to a reduction in potential crashes and improved safety. The study identified the proposed build alternative would have a 28% reduction in total crashes when compared to the no-build alternative, whereas surface-level managed lanes would only have an 8% reduction. It's also anticipated that the proposed build alternative would likely have 23 fewer severe crashes per year. Lastly, the study evaluated potential safety cost benefits and found that the construction of the intersection bypass lanes and elevated managed lanes would save $20 million per year in potential safety-related cost. Overall, the study found that the elevated managed lanes would have a greater reduction in conflict points, lower crash rates, lower severe crash rates, and would provide higher potential safety cost benefits than the surface-level managed lanes. It is for these reasons the proposed build alternative, including elevated managed lanes, was carried forward for further analysis in the draft environmental assessment along with the no-build alternative. This study can be found on the virtual public hearing website. The proposed build alternative would add 2 managed high-occupancy vehicle lanes in each direction along 7.6 miles of I-35 from SH-71 White Boulevard to SH-45 Southeast. These improvements would provide a reliable route for transit and others who utilize the HOV lanes. The image to the right shows the proposed I-35 elevated managed lanes between SH-71 and Slaughter Lane, shown in orange. This section provides benefits such as direct managed lane connections to and from SH-71 White Boulevard and from the northbound entrance from Slaughter Lane, direct managed lane connections that eliminate weaving across the main lanes, wider travel lanes and shoulders, which reduce crashes by 10% and 50% respectively, and the southbound bypass lane system from north of Stassney Lane to south of William Cannon Drive, shown in green, which removes major merging and weaving operations from the main lanes and reduces through traffic at intersections. This project also proposes to improve bicycle and pedestrian accommodations along I-35 frontage roads by adding approximately 13 miles of new shared use paths, in addition to 3 miles of recently constructed shared use paths. This project would reconstruct bridges and would additionally address safety and mobility throughout the corridor by adding 1.7 miles of intersection bypass lanes for safer and faster access to and from the main lanes and to benefit local and regional mobility, eliminating 5 direct main lane merges and improving east-west connections over or under I-35. The project plans can be viewed on the virtual public hearing website. On this slide, we see a typical cross-section of I-35 between Stassney Lane and William Cannon Drive facing south. The top image depicts the existing conditions of I-35 along this stretch of the corridor. The bottom image shows the proposed configuration at the same location, which would include 2 elevated managed lanes in both directions, 4 main lanes in both directions, 1 northbound extended entrance lane, 2 southbound bypass lanes, 2 frontage road lanes in both directions, and shared use paths on both sides. Here we see a typical cross-section along I-35 from Slaughter Lane to SH-45 Southeast, facing south. The top image depicts the existing conditions of I-35 along this stretch of corridor. The bottom image shows the proposed configuration at the same location, which would include 2 at-grade managed lanes in both directions, 1 extended entrance lane in both directions, 1 additional frontage road lane along northbound I-35, and shared use paths along both sides of I-35. Utility adjustments and relocations throughout the corridor are required prior to construction. The adjustments and relocation of any utilities would be managed so that no substantial interruptions occur in utility services. The environmental study conducted for this project complies with the National Environmental Policy Act. An environmental assessment, or EA, was prepared for this proposed project. A copy of the draft EA and technical reports are available for public review on the virtual public hearing website. The environmental study identified and assessed potential impacts due to the proposed project to the natural and human environment, including the resources listed on this slide. We will highlight a few of these studies in the subsequent slides. A community impacts assessment was completed in accordance with TxDOT's Community Impacts, Environmental Justice, Limited English Proficiency, and Title VI Compliance Guidance, and is available for review on the virtual public hearing website. According to the Community Impacts Assessment, the proposed project is not anticipated to result in negative impacts to access and travel patterns for the immediate community. Mobility and safety would be enhanced for all users of Capitol Express South, including emergency vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians, due to the increased capacity and operational efficiency of the general-purpose main lanes, managed lanes, and improved shared use paths. The proposed project would not affect, separate, or isolate any distinct neighborhoods, ethnic groups, or other specific groups, as I-35 is an existing roadway. The requirements of executive order, federal actions to address environmental justice in minority populations and low-income populations are satisfied. No disproportionately high and adverse impacts to minority or low-income populations are anticipated as a result of the proposed project. An independent study conducted in 2021 by the University of Texas at Austin Center for Transportation Research confirmed the outcome of the analysis of the Community Impacts Assessment presented in the draft EA and this presentation. The addition of 13 miles of shared use paths would improve upon existing pedestrian and bike access along the I-35 corridor. Many of the shared use paths intersect with existing pedestrian routes, and the proposed project would provide further connections to this infrastructure, expanding connectivity within the project corridor. This study is available on the virtual public hearing website. A traffic noise analysis was conducted in accordance with TxDOT's guidelines for analysis and abatement of roadway traffic noise and is available for review on the virtual public hearing website. The proposed project would result in traffic noise impacts to 30 representative receivers. Noise barriers are the most commonly used noise abatement measure and were evaluated for each of the impacted receiver locations. According to the traffic noise model, noise barriers would be feasible and reasonable at 3 locations. Therefore, noise barriers are proposed for incorporation into the project. Feasible in this context means that the noise barriers provide a minimum reduction in noise levels and are able to be constructed given the currently known site constraints. Reasonable means that the noise barrier was able to achieve a substantial noise reduction and is cost reasonable. The final decision to construct proposed noise barriers will not be made until completion of the project design, utility evaluation, and polling of adjacent property owners. A noise workshop will be held prior to construction to solicit viewpoints of the property owners and tenants associated with the proposed noise abatement. A brochure describing this process called Building Barriers to Traffic Noise Brochure is available on the virtual public hearing website. These maps illustrate the noise barriers that are proposed for the project at Bridges at Asher Apartments, which includes 2 impacted receivers, and the Park at Estancia Apartments. 4 potential waters of the U.S. were identified within the project area and 1 wetland. They include Williamson Creek, Boggy Creek, Slaughter Creek, Onion Creek, and 1 non-water of the U.S. unnamed wetland. Impacts to waters of the U.S. would be authorized through a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Nationwide Permit 14 without a pre-construction notification. During construction, impacts to each of these potential waters of the U.S. and wetland would be minimized to the extent practical. The water resources documentation is available on the virtual public hearing website. Based on the findings of the draft EA and technical reports, implementation of the proposed project would not result in a significant impact on the human or natural environment under NEPA. Therefore, a finding of no significant impact is recommended. Let's talk about the right-of-way acquisition process. The proposed project would require the acquisition of approximately 13 acres of additional right-of-way. The proposed project would not displace any residential or non-residential properties. Once environmental clearance has been obtained and the project has been fully authorized, TxDOT would commence the acquisition process. All right-of-way acquisition would be done in accordance with the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act of 1970, commonly referred to as the Uniform Act. Brochures, including 3 booklets titled The Purchase of Right-of-Way, Relocation Assistance, and the Landowner's Bill of Rights, are available for you on the virtual public hearing website. These documents contain detailed information on the process and requirements for appraisal and negotiations, as well as detailed information to inform you of your rights as a property owner. In all cases, the property owner would be reimbursed for any reasonable incidental expenses necessarily incurred in transferring title to the acquired property to the state. If you have questions, please call the TxDOT Austin District Office at 512-766-3472. TxDOT hosted an open house for the project on October 17, 2019. In 2020, public feedback was incorporated into the project design, and the project team conducted additional analysis to improve mobility and safety. In December 2020, a virtual stakeholder meeting was held. Currently, we are in the process of holding the public hearing for this project to complete the environmental study with the review of the draft EA. The public comment period will last from April 27th to May 26th, 2021. An environmental decision is anticipated in summer 2021 with final design expected in 2022. Right-of-way acquisition should begin in fall 2021 and construction in 2022. The anticipated completion of construction is between 2026 and 2027. Construction is anticipated to be phased. The estimated construction cost for the I-35 Capital Express South project is $300 million. Let's recap how you can provide input about this project. The first way you can share input is to submit written comments by emailing the project email address, mailing your comments to the address on your screen, or by submitting comments online at the I-35 Capital Express South project website, as displayed on this slide. You can also provide your verbal testimony. The verbal testimony option is available starting at 9 a.m. on April 27, 2021, and will be available until 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, May 26, 2021. Please call 512-501-5451 and leave a voicemail with your comment during that time. Your comments will be recorded and a response will be included in the virtual public hearing summary report. The voicemail system allows you to record a comment up to 3 minutes long, similar to the time provided during our standard in-person public hearing practice. Most importantly, be sure to submit your written and verbal comments no later than May 26, 2021. As noted earlier, the responses to your comments submitted during the comment period will be included in the official record. Once completed, this report will be posted to my35capex.com. Again, we appreciate your understanding with this comment process. Thank you for your participation. This concludes the presentation, and this virtual public hearing is adjourned.